Exactly. That's the fun part. All right. Hello, 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 and welcome to today's episode of Her Version. This podcast is dedicated to sharing stories of struggle and triumph, a platform that allows individuals to tell their truth in order to inspire and uplift others. For those of you that are new to this podcast and like content like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button, follow, like, and share. I am your host, Sabrina Victoria. Let's jump right in.
I'm still dancing
with you, girl. I was dancing with you. I had a little bit of hand motion though.
Yeah.
I love it. For those of you already jumping on live, thank you so much for being here. We so appreciate you. If you could share this video wherever you are watching us at, so we can get more eyes and ears on the awesomeness that we're about to talk about today. This platform is all based on storytelling and the understanding that many times our greatest learning experiences come from listening to other people's stories. Today, I'm speaking with an amazing woman named Sally Lotz. Sally went through life with undiagnosed ADD and dyslexia. She was constantly told she would never be good enough, all while growing up in a cult. After failed marriages and feeling like a failure, she has done the healing work and is here to share all the secrets, how to set boundaries, how to consistently show up with a positive and grateful mindset, and the pattern and techniques that she uses to work with her ADD and dyslexia rather than against it. She now coaches and consults women who are small business owners and helps in process, operations, and coaching. Super excited to have this woman joining us today.
Yay.
Welcome, Sally.
Thank you. I was like, is she talking about me?
I do that too sometimes. It feels awesome, doesn't it?
Yes.
It's kind of like a reminder of all the stuff we've done.
I know. I was thinking about that, when I was thinking about what I was going to talk about or what you asked me about. And I was like, I've done a lot of stuff in my life and gone pretty far.
I know.
So, yeah.
I tell people all the time how important it is to continue to remind yourself or almost write a list of like all the kick-ass stuff you've done in your life, because it's so easy to forget.
Yeah, it is. And people tell me I'm strong all the time. And I'm like, no, I'm just me. I'm just doing my thing. I don't know if you can see, I have my necklace on that says badass. So I wear that all the time.
Oh, that's so cool. Did you buy that for yourself or did someone buy that?
No, actually a friend bought this for me, who was going through a bad situation at the same time as me. And so she put this on my desk at work one morning. I came in and it was there.
Oh,
so,
I love it.
It was awesome. Yeah.
Absolutely. Very, very cool. Well, I'm so excited to dive into all the goodness that you're doing now in your life. But one of the things that I love to talk about and what this podcast is geared around is storytelling. Because so many times when we look at people, right, we're at Starbucks or we're at Target or we're putting gas in our car and we look around and we see people and we're like, she has her shit together. She looks like she has her shit. She sounds like she has her shit together. And we don't necessarily realize that some of these people like you and I have gone through some stuff to get to where we are right now. It wasn't just handed to us. We had to do hard things. So I would love if you were to share some of your background, a story or a pivot that happened in your life. And looking back now, what did you learn from it?
Oh boy, I had to pick one. I'm gonna pick my biggest one. You sort of touched on that I grew up in a cult, and so that really influenced me in my decision-making skills. And I had a lot of poor choices. My second husband was one of my poorest choices. And he was a massive manipulator. He was a pathological liar. He was addicted to gambling. But all through the marriage, I was the one who was trying to make things work and try to keep things together because I didn't want to have another failure in my life, right? I kind of just like put on those blinders and said, nope, 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 everything's okay. Until one day it wasn't okay anymore. And I said, screw this. I am so done with this. This guy is walking all over me. I don't have the things that I want. I'm not able to do the things that I want to do, which is be a full-time writer. He was keeping me from everything in life. And even seeing my children who lived across country. So that was, I'm done. Went through the process of I also had my mom living with me at the time too, which is a whole other story. She's still in the cult. At this time, within a 2-month period, I sold a home, sold everything in my home, got a divorce, took my mom, my dog, and 2 of my cats and lived in a 5-bedroom house with 4 other roommates and just tried to survive there for a year and a half until COVID hit. At this time, I had a book deal. I was working with my agent. Everything was going great. And then I just decided, you know what? I want to be a writer full time. I can't do it here in California. I can't do it with 5 roommates. I can't do it with my mom. And so within a month of that decision, I packed up, moved back to Florida. And that's what I've been doing. I've been pursuing writing full time. And I started this business so that I could write full time, or close to full time, because we know businesses take up a lot of time. But I just couldn't work for somebody else. I tried and had 3 or 4 jobs that I was good at, but I had bosses tell me I was a failure. I had all kinds of things happen that just the jobs weren't a good fit. I had bosses yelling at other people by me. And it's just like, okay, I can't do this. So bright idea one day, I'm going to quit. I have no fallback plan. And I'm just going to start doing what I know I can do, which is I know how to start businesses. I know how to encourage people and coach them to get going and do what they need to do. So that's why I said I'll coach and consult with new business owners. So
Perfect.
kind of morphed into a lot more. It's kind of a hybrid between consulting and coaching. So, and I'm writing. So
I love it.
Yeah.
I want to ask, for individuals, I'm going to say predominantly women who are in a relationship where they're doing that same thing that you were talking about, where they have the blinders on, right? They're not really wanting to see the full picture of what's going on. In your story, in your journey, I'm asking this because I had this issue. What is the difference between compromising and having blinders on?
Compromising to me is you're working together as a team, and you may compromise something that you love, but not give it up. I don't think if you're in a partnership with your soulmate, your teammate, that they would ask you to give up something that you love. So there's a big difference. I don't think I answered your question, but compromising would be like, maybe I used to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to write. And maybe I could, maybe that disturbed my partner. And so the compromise would be, I would find a place to write that would not disturb this person. It wouldn't be in that room. I would find a place to go and write where they could continue sleeping and I would not wake them up. That to me was a compromise.
Versus putting the blinders on to all the other stuff that we're having to get rid of or not do, or like what you were saying, where you just couldn't do certain parts of things that you really appreciated because he just wouldn't let you.
Right. I mean, there were certain things that I love doing that, we we couldn't do, or he wouldn't do. Like I would go places myself alone because he didn't want to go participate, in social activities. Or what I found out later was because he was alienating all of our friends because he was borrowing money from them. And so he did not want to show up. So that was not a blinder. That was a red flag. But looking back, I can go, oh, that's why. Yeah. Just, it's a lot of little manipulation and mind games that you don't necessarily know that are happening until you take a deep breath and step back and really look at it. Especially when you're living with somebody who's a liar and can lie. I'm not a liar, so, I wasn't really aware of it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
100%. We have a Facebook comment here. I think compromise is when you are yielding. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
With blinders, you just go along without really thinking about it.
Yep. I'll agree with that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
When did you come into your healing journey or step into personal development? When did that happen for you?
After the end of my first marriage, I kind of started dabbling in it a little bit. My first marriage, I was married very, very young, had my kids very, very young. I have a kid who's 33, just FYI. So I never had time. I didn't have time to stop and think about, myself or life. And actually, I misspoke there. It was actually earlier because I had a phase where I had such severe anxiety that I couldn't leave the house. I was going through, I guess it's agoraphobia, but it was more like severe panic attacks. And that's when I started connecting the dots with some of my childhood trauma and starting to learn how to work on that and not just deal with it like I had done, but learning how to repair it and move forward. And so, that was one big step in my life. I totally forgot about that until we were talking.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and then after that, it was just daily, trying to find something that I love to do, which ended up being writing. And so to me, that was my healing process. And then moving forward, as I started, getting more comfortable with myself and my creativity, I started reading books. I read the Enneagram book. I don't know if you're familiar with Enneagrams. It's a numbering system, and it teaches you about your personality and how you work.
Wow.
So it was very helpful to me because I'm a giver, and I don't always say to people, I'm not good at confronting. So that book really helped me, probably helped me get my divorce from the second husband. And then now I'm doing a lot of manifesting. I've always been a woman of faith. So I pray every day and I manifest and I try to do meditation. So, but I'm always reading. I'm always reading or listening to podcasts to better myself, become a better person.
Yeah. So in the intro, I read that you deal with ADD and dyslexia. So it's so interesting hearing that you love to read. That normally does not go hand in hand.
And guess what I did for a living? Before I worked in accounting. I worked with numbers.
What?
So as a child, I had many times. Oh, I'm also deaf in one ear, just so you know. I had many times as a child where teachers would tell my mother in front of me that I was stupid and I was holding the class back. I felt really dumb as a child. Like I never knew what was going on. And I did my favorite classes were always the art class and creative writing class. They did not grade you on spelling or anything like that. So that was a good class for me. Art, I had art, wood shop. I had all the fun creative classes I excelled in, and PE. But for the ADD part for girls, it comes out much differently than boys. So girls, this is a lot about what you'll see. This was me in first grade. Basically staring out the window. I was listening to what she was saying, or my teachers were saying, but I also was in another world.
Wow.
And so, yeah. And maybe I don't always have the right reactions to, that's a little bit of it. I do tend to jump into things and, very impulsive. Like, I did move across country without a job. So, but as a kid, I did not know what that was until I had my own children, and the two of them were diagnosed with ADHD, one with ADD. And then I started taking the tests and I went, oh, that's it. That's why I can't, keep these jobs. That's why I lose things and can't remember things. And I'm to control it now, I'm very task oriented. Things always go in the same place. I have checks and balances in accounting, like triple, quadruple checks that, and I'm a lot slower in my process than everybody else because I have to triple check.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So one of the techniques that you've adopted because of that.
For the ADHD, a lot of my techniques are repetitive. And I keep, like I said, I keep things in the same place. It's not the same thing as just losing your keys. A lot of people misplace things. No, it's not the same. And my home is very non-cluttered. I have things, but too much clutter. My brain just goes on overload trying to see everything and try and focus on everything. I don't do super loud music because I can't. Again, it's like sensory overload for me. So, so for me, it's just, I keep things very methodical and very regimented.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great.
It's doable. And I heard somebody too say, when you're trying to focus, wear your shoes. So for me right now, I'm not wearing shoes. For me, when I'm working, when I'm writing, I get into a world and I turn everything off around me, and I could be writing for 4 hours and think 15 minutes has passed. On the other hand, I could also be working and everything is going through my head, and I'm like this, jump. People will tell me, just settle down. So that's, where I have to take the calm steps and just take a deep breath and just, one thing at a time. Yeah.
So did you recognize the ADD in your children?
My first husband would keep punishing them, and he would say things that I heard my mother and my stepfather say to me. And I said, no, that's not right. And so at that time, it was something that was starting to come out, and people were putting their kids on drugs, and it was like this big thing, like, don't put your kids on drugs. And I just started looking into it. We went to therapy together, and I found alternative ways to treat it, because my one son is a musician. And when he got medicated, he told me, Mommy, I don't feel like playing music. I said, no, we're not doing this. Nope, done. Not doing it. So I did it through diet and just the understanding that, this is how your brain works. And let's do some, methods that will, give you one task at a time. And let's just go through our tasks, one task at a time.
Wow.
Yeah. They didn't have a lot of toys. All their toys were tactile, like Legos, building things, or cars. And musical instruments.
Wow.
So, yeah.
No kidding. So on medication and then right off the medication, because it was.
I did not like them when they were on the medication.
No.
It was sad. It was like my children were gone. Their little personalities disappeared. Sure, they were, active, but they were manageable. Like they were never allowed to have soda.
Yeah.
And I took out we ate very healthy. There was no fast food allowed. Yeah. So
I love that thing that you're talking about, soda. I get so frustrated when I see parents giving their children.
Yeah. It's 12 tablespoons of sugar in a soda. Just in case you want to know. And the chemicals in the diet one are worse than the sugar. You're better off giving them the sugar soda.
Yeah. And you can actually see the journey that the child goes through as far as like pretty chill, just normal child drinking the soda and the energy just ramping up like crazy. And then the parents are punishing the children, yelling at them. Like, could you imagine that little tiny itty bitty body and all that sugar going through it? It makes me have anxiety.
Right.
Like,
and then if someone told you, calm down, stop it, Sabrina, you're annoying everybody.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
You'd be crushed. Yeah.
It drives me crazy. I low key feel like it should be seen almost as like child abuse.
And honestly, at the same time, they had no cavities. So just saying.
I love it. Yeah, I didn't feed my I've never been. I stopped drinking soda when I found out I was pregnant, and there's never been soda in our house since then. My son's now 19. Yeah. And I don't even think he really drinks it, even outside the house. But yeah, he has no cavities. He had one cavity when he was younger in a baby tooth, and he has 0 cavities up to this point.
And the other thing I eliminated was fast food.
Yeah.
And put a Happy Meal in the refrigerator for a year. If you guys want to, understand why food is important, see what happens to a Happy Meal in a year. Absolutely.
Did you really do that?
Yep, absolutely nothing happened to it. It was just a little dry. It looked brand new. Even the lettuce and tomato.
The lettuce and tomato didn't mold? Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you actually bought a Happy Meal and just put it in the refrigerator, like in the back, just to see.
Yeah. Yeah.
No kidding. Good for you.
Yeah. Because, it was, an experiment, and I wanted to show my kids why we don't eat fast food, and they do now, but that's their own choice, Yeah.
I get that for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely. I get at my fiance sometimes because he loves sugar, and he has the cavities to prove that. But yeah, he'll do that. He'll be like, hey, Eli, my son's Eli, do you want blah, blah, blah? And I'll be like, no, don't give
Don't give him that poison. What are you doing?
Yes. I totally agree with you.
We are all coffee addicts, though. I just want to say that. So the caffeine is what makes somebody who has ADD, see my hand? I've had like 4 cups already.
Why?
It has to do with, and that's what Ritalin does. It takes the train that's going super fast and just, modulates the train so it goes the same speed.
Are you
serious? So that's what caffeine does for me. Caffeine, I'm not addicted to it, but what caffeine does is it helps regulate whatever those neurons are in my body and helps me to stay level.
And your children have the same thing. Wow, yes. I've never heard of that.
I just got pictures this morning. My son sent me his cup of coffee. He goes, I made coffee that he had like a little heart in the foam. It was really cute.
That's great. Yeah. How old are your children?
28, 31, and 33. They might be older than that.
That's great. Are they all out or in?
You mean out of the cult?
Yeah.
They were never in the cult. I was kicked out when I was 16. I was kicked out of the house. However, their dad is very culty in his church that he goes to. Very, very borderline. It's probably why I chose him as my first husband, because he was a comfort zone. No, they're my one son plays in his church worship band. My other son, I don't know, he just goes to church when he wants. My other one, same thing. They, I taught them and then they get to make their choice. So,
yes. Yes. That's great.
yeah. Yeah.
I want to talk for a moment about limiting beliefs. Coming from your background, I'm sure there's been a few, but there's so many people, within this community or outside this community that are unaware what a limiting belief even is, that we're programmed at a very early age to believe certain things. And it's in everything. It's with our parents, our culture, our religion, our society puts these things in us that we believe to be true, but aren't necessarily true about ourselves and the way that we should be. So I want to ask, in your personal journey and, the things that you've gone through in your life, what were, a couple of the limiting beliefs that you've really had to sit down and reframe?
I think the two biggest ones, one would be that I'm not worthy. Nobody wants me. I'm not worthy. I have a family who completely ignores me and is, I have 6 siblings and they don't, I have 2 brothers who are not, so I'm not going to include them, but the rest of them and my mom, I'm not worthy enough to be part of their lives, and then I failed with my marriages. We aren't even going to go into my dating life. But I do write about it. It's called Burnt Match, Online Dating Horror Stories. So
is that a blog?
Yeah, it's on Medium.
Oh, I
write
love
over on
that.
Medium. You can find me over there through my website. Yeah. So I just feel like I'm not worthy or I'm not deserving of having, relationships or money or, just anything. So that's very limiting. And also the struggle of not being smart enough to do, not being smart enough to have, not being smart enough, to have that job or, do that. When they figure it out, they're going to, get out of here.
Yeah.
So I think both of those things are extremely limiting. It probably kept me from doing a lot of things that I wanted to do. It kept me from setting up healthy boundaries. And it made me jump into situations that, we'll say with my second husband, I never would have been with him had I thought I was who I truly am and not who I thought I was.
Yeah.
That's my nugget. Anyone can use that.
That's fantastic. How have you reframed that? What do you believe now?
I believe that I am definitely worthy. I am not concerned anymore about what my family thinks of me, because I know who I am. I know that I'm a creative person. I know that the talents I have, the ADD or the ADHD helps me to be extra creative. I see things that other people never see. I'm not afraid to jump off and fall into a net. Literally in life, I'm not afraid to move forward and just jump off the edge and I know I'm going to fly. I don't think I'm stupid anymore, but I'm not going to say I'm a brain science, a rocket scientist. Yeah. But I continue to learn and I love it. So, I think with that, I'm able to just keep moving forward.
That's great.
No stopping me.
Yes. Speaking of your family or your community and the shifts that you've had to make in that realm, how have you been able to create boundaries for yourself?
Big thing was my boundary, and it's important when you have a boundary that it's not just in your head. You have to share it with the other person.
That's good.
So boundary here's an example. I recently had my brother text me and ask me to help my mom. Now, in this cult, they believe the world is going to end any day now. My mom gave up a nursing career. She's now 83. She has no money. I'm just started my business, not, I'm only like 8 months in. And so I'm, not struggling, but I'm in the early stages. So we all know what that means when you have your own business, right? Every cent you have is used. And they are asking me for money. Can you help mom with this? Can you help mom with that? My boundary was, no, I'm sorry. I cannot help out with that. I've already helped mom in many ways with allowing her to live with me. And also the stress of this situation is not good for me mentally. And so I'm going to have to step away. If in the future I have something that I can help with, then I may, and I will let you know. And then they haven't asked me again since. I mean, it was literally like every other week they were asking me for money. So that's one, setting up boundaries with, I used to get phone calls and cards, and now I've just, responded with thank you, but I'm not coming back. This is my life. And if you want to have this relationship with me, then this is how it's going to be with me. I'm not going to talk, I'm not coming back.
Yeah.
And I think setting up that boundary has made me in power and me in charge and not them in charge. Yeah. And so that's what makes me feel good, that I took a step in charge of my own life and not letting somebody else run my life.
Absolutely.
Which is all about what boundaries are for.
Yeah. How did you grow to the point of being able to actually say those things?
Lots of therapy.
I remember a time where I didn't have boundaries, then a time when I did have boundaries, didn't say anything, just kind of ignored. Mm-hmm. And then being able to actually voice, is that reading, is therapy?
It's a mix of a few things. The first time that I really, really had to set a boundary up was during COVID. My mom was living with me. I'm writing a book. I'm editing a book with my agent about growing up in the cult. And I'm having flashbacks and PTSD because how my mom is treating me. Mm-hmm. And talking to my therapist, she said, "Why is your mom still there?" And I said, "Because I'm the only one." She goes, "Sally, you have 6 siblings." And I said, "You know what? You're right." And so after a conversation with her, I was able to call my brother and say, "You know what? I can't do this anymore. I can't take care of her." Yeah. And so it was okay. Yeah. And now I have, I've talked about that Enneagram book. That Enneagram book helped a lot because it helped me with my personality. I have a great guy friend who gives me this wonderful advice, and he's always telling me, you got to say what you mean. It doesn't matter if you hurt their feelings. It's about you. It's like, okay. So he helped me get rid of a guy I was dating who wouldn't leave me alone. That was a time for a boundary.
I love it. We have a couple comments here. First one, cult life makes it difficult to set up and keep boundaries. It seems like they are so good at having boundaries while they invade and encroach on ours.
Oh, yes, that's very true. Family gatherings, when I was invited, were always revolved around their beliefs and their lifestyle. Yeah. It was a bunch of gossiping. It was talking all about, meetings and sister this and sister that. My son pulls out his Pokemon cards and starts to play. And you think, that the world just ended. I mentioned a birthday and you think, I was trying to kill them or something.
Yeah.
And you're right. And when I would put up my boundaries, they would say I was cutting them off, and it's because, you know, of their religion and this and that. And it's like, no, it doesn't work that way. You're right. OMG, not the Pokemon. You're right. They're going to the devil.
I didn't know that. I must have left before the Pokemon. Why?
Pokemon is some sort of devilistic creature that, you know, takes over.
Wow.
It doesn't really matter. They have some reason, you know, something. Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I probably stepped out when my son was 3. And I think he got into Pokemon around age 5, 6.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
We have another one from Catherine. This is amazing. I can totally relate to Sally's learning challenges. I am aware that I learn differently too, yet never been diagnosed. I'm inspired and appreciate her being vulnerable to share.
Thank you. Well, and I know there's a lot of, I forgot the lady who told me about the shoes. I think she's on TikTok. And that's where I've been finding a lot of people as an adult who have this. And I'm like, oh, you do the same thing. And it's really helpful to not squash that, but to just, lean into it, just go with it.
Yeah.
And know that you're amazingly different. You're not like everybody else. That's okay.
Yeah.
And use it. Use it to your advantage.
Yeah. That is one of the awesome things about TikTok that I found too. There's like these little niches in the TikTok world that relate to like anything you have, like anything.
It isn't. Unfortunately, TikTok has picked up my algorithm. So
yes, 100.
Yeah.
Too funny. You have to be careful with that, because if you watch like 1 or 2 that you don't necessarily appreciate, but you're just curious, and all of a sudden your TikTok will just blow up. And it's like, I was just curious. I wasn't. There was a time where the LGBTQ community, because some of their TikToks are just really interesting. Like my fiance's son is trans male. And so just kind of learning about it, and maybe it picked up something I said, and a couple of them came into my feed, and I'm like, okay, let me like listen to this. And then before I know it, just the entire feed is just
it's fun
with this culture. And I'm like, no, go back. I was just curious.
I don't want to say what my feed is, but it has to do with if I don't say it, you're all gonna go, hey, what? It's men working out at the gym, and they happen to be Black. That's mine. Or they're firemen, or they're policemen. That when I get on, that's all I see. And I'm like, oh, this is nice. Okay.
Oh, that is great.
I'm not changing my algorithm. I'm just keeping it.
I love it. Absolutely. Oh, that's great. I want to ask, we've got a ton of people listening live right now. By the way, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being in the comments. Sally and I totally appreciate the interactiveness that happens on these podcasts sometimes. So we appreciate that. If you can share the video wherever you're watching us at, so we can get more eyes and ears on this story, and then also the platform in general, we would so appreciate if you were to share, and even hashtag Share Squad.
But not my TikTok algorithm. Don't share that.
Yeah.
That's just between us.
Us and 77 other people. So.
Unless you have someone for me.
Oh, I love it. But I want to ask, for the women live right now who are really struggling with setting boundaries, they're really recognizing the mental and emotional harm that, a certain situation is hitting them, not necessarily approaching it, not feeling the confidence to be able to do it. What would be some advice that you could give to these ladies as far as taking a step into learning to set boundaries?
Well, first of all, if you have a trusted friend, it helps to talk to somebody. If you have a therapist, that's great. But if you can talk to somebody, who's not going to just say you're fine, who's actually going to encourage you to set up a boundary. But I think how I did it was I did it small first. I just tried it on something small. And when I was talking about, I went through this class that was actually on boundaries, and she actually said, think about it first. She had me write it down on paper, what it was that was bothering me. And then we talked about, why is that bothering me? And then why was I unable to say something? And she basically said, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? If you talk to this person and you tell them, please don't do this because it's doing this. If you do this, then I'm going to have to back away. Right. And I said, they leave. And she goes, is that a bad thing? And I said, no. What if they get mad at you? You know, my boundary's set, and I'll be fine, and I can go on my merry way. So that was the thing, was practicing it with myself first, and then talking it through with myself, and then just going through those steps of what's the worst thing that could happen.
Absolutely.
You imagine it way worse than it's ever going to be.
Yeah. I love that you're saying that, because it's so true.
And trust me, I have an imagination. I can imagine it, you know. Don't ever come near me in the grocery store, because I'll look in your cart and I'll be making up a story about you.
That is great. Fantastic.
Yeah. And just remember, the boundary is not for them.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Boundaries for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just like forgiveness is for you. It's not for them.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And think of all the people that have boundaries around you. I mean, think of them.
Yeah. And you respect them, right?
Yeah.
If they tell you, hey, if you're late, I'm leaving without you.
Yeah.
That's a boundary.
Yeah.
Okay. I was late. They left without me. Well, that's my own fault. They told me.
Yeah. 100.
Right.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things that really helped me start to create boundaries, was really recognizing how many other people in my life also had boundaries.
They do.
Yeah. And I didn't think anything of it. I wasn't like, how dare they?
And we've made it a scary word, and it's not scary.
Yeah.
You know, you set boundaries for your kids, right? You tell them, because why? It makes them feel safe. Right.
Yeah.
And you're not going to just let your kid like run through the house and like touch the stove and, you know, all the bad things that kids could possibly do, play with the knives. You're going to tell them no, right? That is a boundary.
Yeah, definitely. Well, this has been absolutely phenomenal. I so appreciate you coming on, sharing some of your story and some laughs. It's been great. For those of you watching live, thank you for being here. For those of you watching on the replay, if you could hashtag replay wherever you're watching us at, so we can send you some love. But I want to ask Sally, you know, diving into your business and everything that you do for humans, you know, who do you help? Who do you work with? And how can people find you?
Well, my website is my name, so it's very easy to find me. It's sallylotz.com. And actually there I have all the links to where you can find my writing, some of the things I talked about. I really found my niche in helping women-owned businesses, small businesses. And that can be somebody who's doing network marketing, somebody who's got a little shop, somebody who's got a food truck, somebody who's doing home organization, whatever it is. I have a vast background working in offices in the accounting and administrative. Plus, I owned my own 2 businesses in the past. So I know the things that most people don't know they need to do that are simple and that they overlook because they don't know about them, right? But then I kind of noticed, well, the new people who are jumping in don't always know like where they're going, and they get overwhelmed. And, you know, so I started working with them, just some basic coaching. I'm not licensed or anything or have, you know, so I just work with them on setting their goals and their plans and being realistic and optimistic, and being consistent is the biggest thing I talk about. Don't set up a goal that you can't be consistent at, because it's not motivation. It's your consistency and your determination that are going to get you there. So that's what I've been working on. And I also, on the other side, because I love to write, I also found a little niche where I've been helping people who want to write or who are writing. So that's one of the things I do too.
Perfect.
Yeah.
What type of books? Does it matter? Any genre?
Doesn't matter. I just had a call last week with a woman who's going to be doing a nonfiction book, and she was going to do it about women who are successful in business. And I said, well, you gave me 4 examples of women who have PhDs, you know, they're big in business. I said, what about the other women? She's like, what do you mean? I said, well, you need diverse women. You need women who have success at whatever they're doing, whether it's running a daycare, whether it's creating jewelry, whether it's, you know, everybody has a different idea of a success. And she's like, I never thought about it that way. It's like, so, so she's going back and she's rethinking her book of how she's going to present it. So that's just one of the things, you know, I help people, you know, think a little bit maybe, or understand the process.
Beautiful. That's great. Where can people find you? Do you hang out predominantly on LinkedIn, Facebook, Insta?
I think I'm mostly on Insta. I lost all of my Facebook and Insta accounts. I had them for 12 years and I got hacked and I lost everything. So just a warning. All my stuff was connected. I lost my business account. I lost everything. It wouldn't let me have it back. So I'm starting over, but I'm finding I really like Instagram. I am on Twitter, but that's mostly for writing, and I'm just not over there very much. And we all know what my TikTok algorithm is. So I'm staying on Instagram. I am on Facebook. So if you friend me on Facebook, I will invite you to my private group that's for entrepreneurs and small business owners. It's just, I give little tidbits of information and just weekly rah-rah-rahs. And it's real. My philosophy is keep it simple. So that's what I do.
Perfect. That's great. What are your big dreams for your business?
My big dream is I want to be able to travel. And because traveling is also research for me for settings and scenes. So I want to be able to have enough income where I'm completely debt free and I can block off times and I can travel. Because most of my work is through Zoom. Or networking events. So traveling is not going to stop me from connecting with people.
Fantastic. And why do you do what you do?
I just love it. I don't know. I just kind of found this niche and I wasn't really sure about it. I just kind of had this aha moment one day and I said, you know what? I love helping people. This is the things I know. So why not put them together? And so, and I like to talk. So I like to feel like I'm helping somebody who was where I was maybe 5 years ago, or maybe 10 years ago, or maybe 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Beautiful. I so appreciate you being here, hanging out with us, sharing some of your backstory. Any closing thoughts before we wrap up?
If you think you cannot do it, you can't. So you should be saying, I have, I am, I do. What is it you say? Do, have.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Don't ever want to hear you say can't or have not. It's got to be I can and I have.
Beautiful. Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Closing thoughts. Yes. For those of you watching live, thank you for being here. If you resonated with all the goodness that Sally shared today, make sure you check out her website at sallylotz.com, right above her head area right there, and also in the description wherever you are watching this at. She predominantly hangs out on Instagram, so drop into her DMs, give her a follow. I'm sure she'll follow you back. We love to connect people here on this platform in order to make sure we all continue to rise. Thank you so much for joining us here on her version. This community is expanding every single day and is filled with females who are striving to do better than they did yesterday. For those of you that are new to this podcast and like content like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button, follow, like, and share. If you have a story to share, check me out at hernation.life. I am your host, Sabrina Victoria, and I'm so grateful to be here sharing a platform that allows people to share their truth, inspire others, and